But one of the things that really struck me about Luke and really struck me about the nature of his writing was his matter-of-fact faith about who Jesus was. I believe he's who he said he was. Why make it that hard? I used to tease Luke because he would have these amazing ideas and amazing scriptures he'd pull out to support his ideas, but I think he was allergic to capital letters. Today, the students upstairs are looking at John 14 and John 10, and I can remember the conversations about John and the conversations about heaven, and there's just a couple of scriptures that right now students are talking about upstairs, and I want to share with you. Thomas said in John 14:5, Thomas said, "Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way?" And Jesus answered, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you'll know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him, and you have seen him." When I had to tell the students and their families that Luke had gone to be with Jesus, it was one of the bigger balls of emotions I've ever felt, because I was celebrating and mourning at the same time. But can I tell you what a profound pleasure it is to look at a student body and say, Luke's with the Lord. I want that for all of you all. I want not one to be lost. So in the end, even though Luke was a student in my class, I started thinking about how much I actually learned from the experience of being able to be the teacher in that class. I learned that the intimacy of gospel conversations is a treasure you just can't put into words. And to have it with students and to encounter a student with such a matter-of-fact faith, it's absolutely to be celebrated and told over and over and over again. The other thing that I want to share with you is when I hear the song, "Blessed Be the Name of the Lord," I always tell my family at my memorial service, be sure and play that song. But I say it because I really want to praise God in the storms and in the desert place, when the road's marked with suffering. And one of the things that Luke Getchell's family has taught me by example is how to do that. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart about the faithful scriptures you poured back into this school, into this leader, as you were walking on your road marked with suffering. And I can't hear that song again without thinking of you, and I thank you for that. I know from other grief experiences that holidays come, and it's the first one. And I want to lighten your load just a little bit if I can. Andrew and Jimmy and Lisa, one of the hardest things for me to type when I put the messages out to families that Luke had gone to be with the Lord is the phrase, the class of 2023. Because I have the pleasure of handing people their diplomas and hugging them. And it hit me that I wouldn't be able to hug Luke on that day. But then as I prayed about it, he's always going to be a member of the class of 2023. He's a part of the family of God. You're a part of the family of God. This is Grove's family. This is how God designed it. So I have a Grove Christmas ornament for each one of you. And when you look at it, I want you to remember your family's here through all seasons. And we don't stop praying for you when the memorial service is over, because Luke's still part of our family. Luke Getchell's a member of the class of 2023. Okay. Thank you so much for being part of our family at Grove. At this time, I'd like to invite Nicholas to come up and speak. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Luke's brother. Luke was my only brother before he came around. I was an only child. But when I heard that my mom was gonna have Luke, I was excited, and I started to make these plans about what I'm gonna teach him when he's born. I made little lesson plans about teaching him the alphabet and his simple math and stuff like that so he could go to school prepared. Now, of course, when he was born, I've realized it's going to be a little bit of time before I can teach him too much. And teenage me kind of forgot about the idea. But now that we're gathered here today, I want to reflect on what Luke taught me during his life. Luke was the most loving person I've ever known in my whole life, anywhere. And I've been several places in this world. I've never met anyone that loved like Luke did. If he loved you, he would let you know. If you walked into a room and he's just hanging out, playing video games, doing nothing, he'd say, I love you, Nicholas. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. He'd let you know. And that's something I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life. That's all I really wanted to share, is just Luke's lesson of telling the people that you love them while you still have the chance. So just remember that and take that with you. Thank you. I'd like to invite Andrew here to give Luke's eulogy.
I'm Andrew. I had the privilege to be Luke's dad, and I brought my Kleenex up here. Luke, whenever we watched a movie that had a tender spot or anything like that, he'd always look at me. If I was at church and being moved by the Spirit, he'd... So, Luke, since you're not here, I brought my own. Today is All Saints' Day. In the Catholic tradition, that's a day to remember the saints that have gone before us. So, how fitting a day. I'd like to thank the students that sang, the students that have participated in getting all of this together and for praying for us, the family, and for Luke. I want to thank the family that has traveled. Some of you have traveled a long way to be here, and I thank you for that. And for friends that have been encouraging us all along the way. And we want to thank the doctors. I think some of the medical team wanted to come today. They should be here. So the medical team has just was top notch for the 15 months that Luke was going through this. We just couldn't have asked for better treatment, and they just loved Luke. There were days where he didn't really want to be bothered by medical folks. He just wanted to be left alone with his iPad and whatever. And they worked with him on that, and they just loved him anyway. And he'd make jokes and everything. And so I just thank the medical team, and also thank the support organizations. Connor's Heroes is one of them. When he came in for bone marrow transplant and all of that, they give each child a backpack. And in that backpack, there's a bunch of different stuff, but one thing was an iPad. And he took a lot of enjoyment from that iPad as he's going through getting transfusions blood transfusion could take 4 hours. And so it really helped the time pass for him. And so we thank Connor's Heroes, and we also thank Noah's Children, who helped coordinate this event today. Without them, this could have been just a more difficult time than it's been. So I wanted to start by thanking everybody. When Luke went into the hospital for the last time, we got a bunch of letters from the school, and I read each one. And most of them talked about how Luke liked to laugh and that kind of thing, and made them laugh. And I just wanted to take a few minutes and just kind of expand your knowledge of who Luke was. As Nick just mentioned, how loving he was. He was a deep guy. He had a lot of different things going on. The first thing is Legos. If y'all notice the display outside, that is not all his Legos. he built all of the ones that were on display in the 15 months that he was in the hospital. So he was an energetic Lego builder. He had a passion about Legos. And I think Star Wars sets were probably his favorite. Early on, when he was younger, he used to destroy the set so he could make his own creations. And so we have bin upon bin of Legos. And we've brought some of those today, but as he matured, he started keeping those sets together, and that's what you see part of in the foyer there. At church each Sunday, he would want to bring in a Lego. And so as a memoriam to him, just as a fun thing to do, we passed out Legos to everybody when you came in. Because invariably, as it's nice and quiet, you'd hear Legos pop. So if everybody can pull out their Legos. I'm going to count to 3. If y'all can I think they make more noise when you're pulling them apart. So if you can put them together. And then on the count of 3, we're going to pull these apart. All right. And we're just going to channel our inner Luke, okay? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Isn't that heavenly? That is heavenly. All right, these the Legos that are broken apart, you can keep these to remember Luke by and maybe take it to church and annoy your pastor. Or you can return it back to us at the end of the service. We're going to send them, I think, to Brick Recycler. And they send them to places where poor children can't buy Legos, like Zimbabwe. There's an orphanage in Zimbabwe that they've sent Legos to. So that's what we'd like to do. I think Luke would like that idea. Okay. Next thing is Luke is part of a large family, a blended family. But Luke did not make any distinctions about family. If you asked him how many brothers he had, he would tell you he had 3 brothers and 1 sister. And then a bunch of aunts and uncles and nephews and nieces. Some of them are here today, and it's a big family. And he loved everybody, just like Nicholas said. Luke loved being with his family. It was rare, at least for me, it was rare for him to ask to go hang with his friends. I was kind of his hanging buddy, and so he wanted to hang with me. It was kind of a joke. One day he saw that I had a dating app on my phone, and he said, "No, it's just you and me." And so it was. We did a lot. He was my co-conspirator for a lot of fun. He loved going on adventures with his family. We were just kind of taking stock of everything he's done and places he's been. He's been to New York City twice, went to Pennsylvania, he went to Kansas, went to Boise, Idaho, went to Florida a whole bunch of times. That's where I'm from. He went to Georgia, and he's been all over Virginia. He's been on train rides. He's boated in New River Gorge, West Virginia. He's been down the Rappahannock and the Chesapeake Bay. He's traveled literally all over the place. He's been biking. He's been camping, tubing, canoeing, kayaking, whitewater rafting, hiking, fishing. He's gone and shot squirrels. He's done gold panning, metal detecting, go-karting. We've done the obstacle courses in the trees, and when it even did a skydiving simulator. One of his favorite things to do was swimming. He'd swim in the pool like a fish, and he loved going to the beach. We went to the Florida Keys one time, went snorkeling even. He didn't care for that very much because of the salt water, but he had a good time. The Florida Springs down in Florida, cold water, ice cold water. He loved that. I couldn't stand it. It drove me nuts. But he loved it. He absolutely loved it. He loved to camp. He had we shared some stories of him camping in cabins with his grandpa and walking his dog Sadie and having bacon in the morning for breakfast. And then Lisa and Jimmy bought a camper and going camping One of the things they like to do going to and from camping is they go antiquing. And that's where he started a collection of pocket watches when he was antiquing. So he's got a pocket watch collection. Next, Luke loved food. Now, he wasn't a glutton. It wasn't like he just stuffed himself, but he just enjoyed food. He loved eating food. And I think it was one of the saving graces when he was going through this treatment is he just had a healthy appetite through the whole thing. But he enjoyed baking and cooking shows like Guy's Grocery Games and Chopped. As a matter of fact, at least in Jimmy's house, they did a Chopped competition, which he won. I don't know if he got a trophy, but he won, so he got bragging rights. As far as me, I'm not much of a cook, so I didn't put him through that torture. So we would eat out a lot, and his favorite was Olive Garden, the chicken fettuccine Alfredo. Any fans? Any fans? Yeah. So, and he also liked Panda Express orange chicken. So next time you have that, just think of Luke. Luke loved music. He was an old soul. I was talking to one of the parents today in the lobby, and she brought that up too, that he was just an old soul musically. Her son and Luke shared that. No Nicholas, he shared a love of music with Nick as well. So Nick shared a love of Legos and music, and their sense of humor was the same. So, but Luke loved music. I tried to keep him on Christian music. And he liked Toby Mac, but usually he changed the channel because his tastes were more eclectic than that. He liked 70s dance music and rock, and he liked 80s rock, and he even liked Eminem. Sorry. He and his mom shared their love for music. They'd trade songs. They'd queue up songs on their phone. I like this one, and play it. When we were in clinic, that was something that they'd do. Luke would pull a song up, and then Lisa would pull up one, and it was a lot of fun. But no country music was to be played. And so Jimmy, you were just out of luck with your bluegrass music. Was just Luke loved penguins. Loved penguins. We got the privilege in April, Make-A-Wish Foundation, they had sponsored